What's going on, everyone? So it is the weekend, and I thought we would mix it up a little bit. So one thing you guys might not know about me is that quantum computing stocks are just a very small part of my overall investment strategy and portfolio. There's a lot of stocks that I love just as much as quantum stocks. I mean, I think there's so many great opportunities in the market right now. So I had this idea to do a kind of a hybrid mix, like a little bit of a variety show to mix things up a little bit. So I thought what I would do is talk about a quantum stock to lead us off, and then talk about two other stocks that are on my radar that I'm personally invested in. I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you what I think of recent price action. We'll look at charts, we'll look at the company financials, we'll look at that type of thing. But hopefully you all will find some value out of hearing about some other exciting things that are happening in the market. I know there's always a lot to cover with quantum. That is still the main purpose of this channel, but it sounded fun to mix it up a little bit. So let's jump right into our first stock today, which will be QBTS. So I've brought it up before. If we go over to the channel, I'm going to show you. So there's a video I made just 8 days ago that I recommend you go watch if you haven't seen it already. That was a whole video about specifically D-Wave and all the exciting things that are going on. But if we look at the wider market and we look at this small cap quantum computer company, there are some interesting things going on here. So if we look at the 3-month chart, we know that that there was a period of time where an actual long period of time where QBTS was trading at around the $10 mark. It actually held that level and held it pretty strong. And then we had a pretty major gap down with the Jensen Huang remarks. We went all the way down to $4, actually sub $4. And there's been this pretty interesting recovery, which we can see, and then consolidation. But now we're at the point where we're starting to break trend. We're talking about these last few trading days where we have some major catalysts, such as Microsoft's new quantum chip. We also have a catalyst for this company itself. So let's jump into the last 5 days and see what's going on the charts. And remember, this chart, the context, I mean, the market wasn't that great this week. In fact, it was pretty awful on Friday. So for us to be seeing this consistent upward trend all week on pretty decent volume is a good sign that there may be more room to run in Mr. QBTS. So we actually hit 820 at one point during the trading week. And we are now, we close at 725. What is it looking for? What do we think this stock is looking for? I personally think that it's looking for this $10 level. And I'll tell you why. So D-Wave came out swinging when Jensen Huang said 15, 20, or 30 years. What it came down to is like, what are you talking about, dude? We're doing this right now. We have clients like MasterCard and NTT Docomo that are paying customers. Dr. Alan Baratz went on CNBC. He made those comments and was really the only vocal company that came out and said, wait a minute, that's not quite right. So really impressive to see from a PR standpoint that the leader of the company came out against one of the biggest CEOs in the country and said, actually, no, that's not what's going on. And we have the receipts to prove it. We see that they've continued this PR by publishing a letter in the Wall Street Journal to address misconceptions about quantum computing and educate the market. I personally think there's a huge education gap in the market, like in just the wider understanding of what quantum computers are. And it's not an easy subject, even for people. I talk to people who work on quantum computers, and they're still like, yeah, this is a tough concept for even us to wrap our heads around. There's definitely some misconceptions going on. And if you jump over to my channel and take a look at the top 5 quantum computing myths, I go into some of those misconceptions to start working on debunking some of the most common ones. But back to QBTS. So we have a couple major catalysts. So one, we have on CNBC, Dr. Baratz saying he's looking forward to sharing earnings. So he has an optimistic outlook at what earnings are going to look like for the company. At this point, with the market being so ripe for quantum computers with Willow, with Majorana 1 from Microsoft, any positive news like better earnings is going to have investors flocking to these ticker symbols. Do not kid yourself. This is a stock that will not be seeing $7 for long. What else do they have? Well, they have a whole conference. They have the D-Wave Qubits 25 Quantum Realized Conference. And I'm actually heading out there because I'm so curious about how the conference is going to go. I have friends in Scottsdale. I'm really looking forward to this conference and seeing what they have in store for everyone. So just remember that D-Wave has real-world quantum applications in businesses right now. And that is the key takeaway, that they're working a lot harder on their website and their public relations to make sure that everyone knows that. All right, so for all the quantum enthusiasts and lovers, if you are interested in learning more about quantum computers, jump over to thequantumbull.com/invest. That's where I rank my top 8 quantum stocks. And I try to keep this updated periodically as news and catalysts change the rankings. So we're going to jump into, for the first time on this channel, some coverage of some different stocks. And as I introduce them, this may be for some of my viewers the first time they're hearing about the stock, and I'm going to explain why I chose these two. So I chose SoFi and BigBear.ai, and I want to talk about SoFi first. So SoFi is a fintech banking company, but the easiest way to think about it is it's an all-in-one new age bank. They're targeting younger people. They're getting their student loans or credit cards or debit cards, and they are creating a lifetime client because they're a one-stop financial tech from the ground up, all-in-one, one-stop shop for everything financial. That can be personal loans, banking, credit scores, mortgages, student loans, investments, private student loans, credit cards, insurance, travel. So everything in the market right now, this is one of my favorite stocks, and I believe in the growth story that is going to happen here. And a lot of the quantum stocks, to be honest, are a bit of a more speculative and risky tech play. But when you're looking at banks, like fintech banks like this, there's not really anything too much like SoFi. SoFi is a disruptor, and that's what I personally like about SoFi. But when we go and look at the financials, and also keep in mind right now this stock is trading at $14 a share, and that's a little bit more accessible than some of the big banks like JP Morgan Chase and other things. So this is a growth company. This is a company that's just starting out. So what's their story? On the balance sheet? So SoFi looks, I mean, you can see for yourself. Since 2021, we have increasing revenue. We flipped in late 2023 from negative operating income to positive operating income, and we have great net income. Looks like we're building up more assets and liabilities. And the thing that makes SoFi so unique is that they are a direct competitor to banks, but they're not bound by the same rules as banks. They're not in the old architecture that banks are. They don't need to go out and spend billions of dollars on brick and mortar storefronts, because instead they have a beautiful application. So I've got SoFi on my phone. I just downloaded it to test it out. And I thought, hey, this is a pretty great dashboard. I'm looking at the app right now. I have banking options. I have investment options, loans. It tells me insights. It has my credit score. It shows activity, and it has all kinds of member benefits. So one thing is SoFi Plus, which is a new thing, relatively new, which gives premium perks. And they have a lot of people signed up for SoFi Plus, which is a pretty significant revenue stream. So there's a lot of content on YouTube about SoFi, and there's a lot of good things to say about SoFi. And I personally think at this price point, at $14 after the sell-off, this touched $18 before earnings. Now, as Wall Street, we know that Wall Street can punish a company if it doesn't put profits above everything else. Profits right now, right? But what SoFi did is they said, actually, we're taking some of these increased profits that we're seeing, and we're reinvesting into ourselves for the long term. So that's the crux of it. The crux of it is, so what does it boil down to? This is a fintech bank with tons of customers. They're growing fast. They're cheap, dirt cheap compared to other banks on the market. And they've invested in themselves for the long term. If you look at their CEO has a lot of incredible background and seems to be a great leader for the company. I love SoFi. I'm happily invested in SoFi, and I fully expect in 2025 for SoFi to do really well. So when friends and family ask me, some of them know that I do a YouTube channel on quantum computers, and they ask me, well, which quantum computer stock should I invest in? Well, it all depends on your personal risk tolerance. But this is one stock that I would say. So SoFi is one where I would say for family and friends, this would be a good investment. And I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not. You all need to do your own due diligence. I'm here for entertainment purposes because I find it fun. It's a hobby of mine to do all this. But SoFi, fantastic company. Keep on your radar. I think they're going to have a great year in 2025. Then last, so we have Mr. BigBear.ai. And I've actually been investing in BigBear.ai since they were trading at $2, if you can believe it or not. So I'm an early believer in Big Bear. Let's look at the chart and let's talk about Big Bear. So I love Big Bear. And what is Big Bear? You're probably wondering. Well, they are a national security AI company. They are in airports like Chicago, and it's an AI company that essentially plugs into existing technologies and makes complex decisions easier for businesses and government. So they've had a ton of catalysts in the recent few months. And if you want to know how much I believe in this company, this is where I entered. Okay, when it was trading at $2-3 a share, and recently they picked up some sizable government contracts with Palantir going higher and higher, and being a star of the S&P 500. We're seeing that there's more attention to these smaller AI companies and what they can bring. So let's look at BigBear financials. So they've had pretty consistent revenue. And this is where, when I was showing you SoFi, SoFi is a completely different story. SoFi is literally printing money. So SoFi is literally printing money, and BigBear still has a lot to prove. We know with BigBear that sometimes they've missed on quarterlies. Sometimes the financials haven't all been perfect. But we do think, or I'm of the opinion that BigBear is going to have, hopefully in the next quarterly or two, show us some nicer numbers. Now, why is, I've gone through and highlighted some of these articles just to make this as efficient as possible. But why BigBear? Why not other stocks? Well, BigBear, for one, is just really early on, right? Like Palantir a year ago was $10, less than $10. Now people are looking for the next Palantir. What's the next company that's going to start getting those contracts and start making a lot of money? And we have an administration that is very focused on defense, for better or worse, focused on the border. And airports are a big part of the border, and BigBear.ai is already in airports. And BigBear.ai is already positioned, partnered with Palantir and in the defense space. So what are big catalysts for BigBear? Well, recently, SoftPoint selected BigBear.ai for facial recognition, matching technologies, and payment transactions. So that's over on their website and available to look at. One of the big ones that started this run was the IDIQ contract from the U.S. Department of the Navy and Seaport. That was just a few weeks ago. And then Kevin McAleenan, oh, that's a tough name to say. Anyway, he was in the previous Trump administration as the acting secretary of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So now he's the CEO of BigBear.ai, and there is a connection there to the current administration. There's the experience, the relevant experience to make BigBear a relevant AI company in the changing world of defense and border security, and just AI in general. So if you're interested in AI like I am, it's one of the underpinnings of my personal investment thesis, then definitely have a look at BigBear.ai. Now, all this being said, I want all of you to understand that holding BigBear.ai for these last few months hasn't always been fun. And I'll explain that real quickly in the chart. And then I want also to just have a full disclaimer again that any information that I'm sharing is my own personal opinion. I'm not a CPA. I'm not an investment advisor. I just enjoy talking about stocks, and you have to make your own decisions and do your own due due diligence. So with that being said, we can spot a breakout here. This was right around after the announcement of the new contract and a lot of attention. And we jump right from a $5 level to a $7, which was a huge move. And then the very next day, we breached $9. And in fact, just a few short days later, we actually crest above 10. Now, recently with market weakness, and what I always want you to look at as an investor is you need to be paying attention to volume. So volume has slowed down. Another thing we need to look at is the RSI. So the RSI at this point is indicating that this stock was overbought. As we look at the RSI, we see that the RSI now is more on the oversold area. So what does that mean? We're oversold at low volume, which means we have a low price. And we can also take into account, let's see, 5 years of price action. Let's see what Big Bear has done. So this is an unusual breakout for Big Bear. And it is in line with some of the other things that are happening in the market. So what's going to happen from this point? Well, the RSI is indicating that there's potential for buyers to come in. The volume is indicating lower volume, that there may be just less interest in this stock at this very moment, especially with the market conditions. It is a bit more speculative and a bit more volatile. So what do we take from all of this? Well, we have earnings coming up, which could be a huge mover for the stock to even crest above 10. We also, at any point, could hear from Big Bear, hey, we have this new department contract. We have this, we have that. You never know. So as a lot of the stocks in the stock market, we just have to wait and see. But I hope you enjoyed this content. This is definitely a little bit of a change for me to talk about some different stocks that I personally own and personally love. If you like this content and you like the way I approached the show, please leave a comment for me and consider liking or subscribing to the channel if you found value out of this. And as always, good luck in the market and have a great day.